We have a lot of people who asked us to take a look at their fantasy football teams, possibly come up with some trades, possibly come up with some waiver wire moves. So we're going to do just that. First team coming out from Hunna B26, my guy. I know you've been with us for quite some time. Really appreciate you. Let me hook you up with a couple free trade vouchers and start set vouchers. And one thing for anybody watching this live stream is from now on, when we do these streams, I'm going to actually be giving away those free trade question vouchers and those free start sit question vouchers for people in the actual live stream as well. Every time we hit 100 likes, we are going to be giving away those special vouchers. But anyway, let's check this out for Hunna. Says, I like my team, a little scared of my quarterback position, but my league started reaching early for QB, so I had to take advantage of it. Any suggestions? So first thing is looking at the league analyzer. There are 3 teams in your league that knew what they were doing. Love Island, Drink May, and Coach Caden. These are the good teams in your league. This is a 10-team league, so you'd think maybe it's going to be a little bit shallower, but it is a start 8 format, so that either means that you're going to have 3 wide receivers and 1 flex, or you're going to have 2 flex spots and 2 wide receivers. But overall, it is a little bit of a shallower format because, again, it is that 10-team league. Like you can see with the waiver wire right now, that quarterback, you have Lawrence, Michael Penix, Tua, Cam Ward. Going over to running back, we have Jaden Blue, Ray Davis, Dylan Sampson, Miles Sanders. Wide receiver, Bateman, Burden, the big Q. And then tight end, Britton Strange, Hunter Henry, and Cade Otton, all out there on the waiver wire. So looking at the quarterback position, no idea why our name's Drink May. If we are currently rocking with Jared Goff, I figured that we were going to have Drake May at our quarterback slot. Obviously, Jared Goff's not a good quarterback to have. Not in a 10-team league. Like if we're looking at your waiver wire with Lawrence, Michael Penix, Tua, Cam Ward, I would say Jared Goff's definitely a lot better than any option on waivers currently. But I'd be quick to just say, you know what? Who cares? Let's go ahead and let's just work the waiver wire and play the matchups through the season. And since it's a 10-teamer, I definitely like the idea of having an elite level quarterback if we were able to get one. But again, it's not going to be the end of the world either way. Like you're going to be okay here. Now going over to running back, we are currently looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, RJ Harvey, Quinshon Judkins, and Tank Bigsby. So with our starting lineup week 1, being able to roll out Gibbs, Chase Brown at running back, and then wide receiver in the flex, we're going to have London, Wilson, Devonta Smith, and then like Ricky Pearsall. We're in a really good spot that in a 10-team shallower format like this, we can take the guys like RJ Harvey and Quinshon Judkins and go, you know what? We don't really need their production early in the year, and we're just shooting for the ceiling with them. And if they do turn into league-winning options in the second half of the season, obviously we would be very excited about that. So overall, I really like the running back room, and I'd say the running back room is probably the strongest position that you have in this draft. Going over to receiver, we are currently sitting with Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Devonta Smith, Ricky Pearsall, Matthew Golden. So for a 12-team league, this would be phenomenal. For a 10-team league, Devonta Smith is more like a wide receiver 3 than a wide receiver 2. Ricky Pearsall is more like a wide receiver 4 than a wide receiver 3. So I would agree that, yeah, we are probably a little bit weaker here at wide receiver than I'd like to be, considering our quarterback room. We just, for whatever reason, are holding so much value at tight end. So we have Ferguson, Jonnu Smith alongside Trey McBride. I mean, if we could find somebody in our league that'd trade for one of these guys, like this team here, Playoff Herbert has Tucker Kraft, Kyle Pitts. If we could, for whatever reason, send them Jake Ferguson, send them Jonnu Smith, if they would be willing to make a trade for those guys, 100% we'll literally trade them for anything. If you could go through and if you could package together Jake Ferguson and Quinshon Judkins and go get a slight upgrade to like Isaiah Pacheco, sign me up for it. But the reality of the situation is you're probably in a spot where you're not going to be able to sell these tight ends. They probably should just be sitting out there on the waiver wire in a 10-team league. I would much prefer, honestly, going through and picking up some of these running backs that are an injury away from turning into starters. Like, if we have Trey McBride, if we have the elite level tight end, while I understand that I do have Jaden Blue and Ray Davis behind Jake Ferguson and Jonnu Smith in my rankings, I would cut the backup tight ends, pick up the additional running backs that do have high ceilings. If you didn't want to pick up 2 running backs and instead you wanted to go ahead and pick up another wide receiver, you could just drop, say, Jake Ferguson, Jonnu Smith, pick up Luther Burden, and then the highest available running back that we have in our rankings would be Jaden Blue. If you want to do those two guys, that would be incredible. But regardless, I think we want to go ahead and we want to cut the 2 tight ends. And then a move that we want to make from that point is we're probably not going to be able to afford to upgrade at quarterback early in the year. I think you're actually probably going to have to wait till later in the season when we get to see some of these breakouts from the rookies, whether that's Matthew Golden, whether that's RJ Harvey, whether that's Quinshon Judkins. But realistically, if we're sitting with this team where RJ Harvey, Quinshon Judkins, neither could be viable early in the year, and then we go ahead and we look at Jordan Addison suspended, we look at Matthew Golden being a rookie where we probably don't want to be starting him in the first month. I mean, typically my stance with the rookies is obviously we want to target them in drafts. We'd love to roster them, but we can always afford to wait until they break out and then start them afterwards. I think my play here is let's hold off. We can't really afford to trade the running backs and receivers for a quarterback upgrade until we get some of these rookies breaking out, or at least like Jordan Addison back from suspension. So I would cut the tight ends, sit on your hands for a bit. If you wanted it, instead of picking up 2 running backs from cutting the tight ends, you could pick up like Trevor Lawrence here and then just see if Lawrence goes nuclear with Brian Thomas in year 2 and Travis Hunter's a rookie as well. But regardless, cut the 2 tight ends, pick up 2 different players. Don't trade for a better quarterback until we actually get a breakout from either one of the rookie running backs or a rookie wide receiver. Then at that point, you could potentially look to trade up better for a better quarterback. But I hooked you up with a free trade question voucher, my friend. So if there is a trade that comes across your table soon, I would be happy to get it for you or answer it for you. But I really appreciate you and hope I was able to help out. Now, Mark says, hey, Mason, sorry to interrupt, but if I buy a team review, will I get it in this live stream? How does that work? So a big thing that we do, just in case you've never bought anything on the site in terms of question wise, is at the very beginning of these live streams, I put in on flockfantasy.com the email. I'm sorry, not the email address. I put in the link to the YouTube live stream itself. And then the developers of flockfantasy.com built out a system, they're freaking geniuses, that whenever I answer your question, like if I answer your team review, you get notified on the site and you get an email sent to you that your review was done. And it sends you the YouTube link that I put in. So the link to this live stream, and it automatically timestamps it. So when you click the link, it takes you to your exact question being answered. So to be honest with you, if you got a team review in this live stream, I'm probably not going to get to it. It would probably be in tomorrow's live stream. But even if you're not in the live stream currently, you can always go to the site and always buy a question if you want. And even if you're not going to be able to make the live stream, you should be able to see the answer. And I know everybody loves the fan from the draft. I understand. But let's move this over to Morgan's team. My friend, really appreciate you. This is auction 2-year keeper league, double flex and 1 super flex. Great to know. Please, if you are in a Superflex redraft team, let me know whenever you submit it. That would be absolutely massive for me. But anyway, should I sell the team for as many auction dollars for next season? A lot of the players released from being keepers next year, and I don't feel the best about this team thing. So I got started on YouTube with Dynasty Fantasy Football. Like, Dynasty Fantasy Football was my true love, if I'm going to be honest with y'all, which it's tough to admit this, but I definitely prefer redraft at this point of my life. Maybe that changes in the future. But back in the day, it was all Dynasty all the time. And obviously, that's a format that very often you are going through and you are rebuilding. And it's very common for you to just go ahead and trade away a bunch of assets that you currently have for future value. Now, in keeper leagues, I am adamantly against that. And keeper leagues, 9 times out of 10, I just want to go ahead and I just want to try to contend every single year. Now, with that being said, looking at this team in the league analyzer, it may be a little bit tougher for us to contend with the people that we are going up against. We are the 7th floor crew. If this was a 1 quarterback league, then yeah, I think we could be excited. And yeah, I think we could go, oh, we have AJ Brown, Ashton Genty, James Cook, Worthy, McLaurin, Rashee Rice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're in a great spot. That's not the case here. With it being a super flex format, where Dak Prescott's our QB1, 10-team league, Dak Prescott's not a top 5 quarterback in fantasy. Is he a top 10 guy? I don't know. But even if he's a top 10 guy, then what? He's like a low-end QB1. We don't have a QB2 to start early in the year. Like, you can't go into the season with the plans of this being a contending team. If you try to win with this team, you're getting rolled. If it was a one quarterback format, I mean, you'd be great. But in a Superflex league, I don't see how you can go up against some of the other rosters here. Like, just to go up and look at some of the teams that are near the top of the league standings. Like, this team here is going to be starting Josh Allen, JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix. They have Lamb, Jefferson, Brian Thomas. So I would actually agree with the sentiment of, if this is an auction keeper league where you are able to sell current players and pick up future auction dollars, that would be something that I would be interested in. So when we go over and we look at these players that maybe are going to be in worse situations 12 months from now than they are today, that's something we kind of got to figure out. Who do we think will be less excited about keeping next offseason than we would be this year? I would say AJ Brown probably fits that mold. I would say Terry McLaurin probably fits that mold. I would say Calvin Ridley probably fits that. James Cook fits it, as well as Dak Prescott. Now, the players that, if we can, obviously I don't know the exact keeper setup, I would be more excited about them 12 months from now than I am today. Ashton Genty, potentially Braylon Allen, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice. Rice is going to be a monster in 2026. He'll be 2 years removed from the injury, and you won't have suspension concerns. Egbuka, obviously, we want to build around. Addison, I'd like to build around. Keon, I'd like to build around. And Laporta, I think, will be in a good spot as well. So, if we are looking at this, I think you build around those players. You sell off the veteran assets. I agree. I hate to punt a year. It sucks, especially in a keeper league where you just can't guarantee yourself, oh, I'll get the 101 next year in my Dynasty format. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook you up with I'm going to actually send you over a bunch of free trade questions. I don't know if I want to be sending you a bunch of start set questions, because honestly, if you're tearing this down for this year, like, your starting lineup's not going to matter that much unless hopefully you have another team. I mean, if it's not too late, I'll try to hop in another league. That way you have something to look forward to this year. But I agree. Like, your wide receiver room's third best in the league. Tight end room's third best in the league, according to the league analyzer. Running back, we're kind of dead average. But for this to be a super flex league, you're absolutely cooked if this is your quarterback room in a 10-team format. But I really appreciate you and look forward to seeing some of those potential trades that come across your way, my friend. Now let's move this over to Grand Lake Rocks. And I'm actually going to have to take a big look at this because this isn't linked with the site. This isn't linked with the site either. So we're going to have to take a long look at that one as well. So I'm going to do that off the live stream. So what we can actually do now is we can skip over and look at some of the non-team review questions that we've received. AC and Naylor sent us a trade. This is going to be a dynasty trade where they are trading away Laporta in a third to get back Ayuk, Jonnu, JCM, and a second. I'm going to take Laporta. I think Laporta is the best player in this deal for me personally. I understand it's not a tight end premium format, but still, JCM is I don't necessarily like JCM that much more for Dynasty than I do redraft, to be honest with you. Like, super, super old rookie, and he's not the tier or the caliber of player that we can pencil in to be a difference-making option in like 2026 and beyond. So I'd probably rather just have Sam Laporta. Now, E. Pelser coming through with the super message, didn't actually type out a message when he sent this in, so let me hook you up with a free start set question, my friend, just in case that's what you were intending to ask. So you should have that free start set question in your account now. Now, Doobie coming through with the trade. Here he is sending AJ Brown, Brian Robinson in a third for DK Metcalf and, he's sending DK Metcalf in a first for AJ Brown and a third. Like, Brian Robinson looks to be almost nothing at this point. This is easily the first and DK Metcalf for me, especially with this being, if this team's actually linked, yeah, it is. So this is a 10-team Superflex format. 10-team Superflex league, I definitely would rather have the first round pick and DK Metcalf. Brian Robinson does not look startable. Now, let's move this over. La Big says, when is the draft sheets going to be updated again? So I've been working on the draft sheets all day today, and we're going to be working on them through the night as well. So the draft sheets should have the official update out tomorrow. So just in case you don't know where you can find the draft sheets, I know I've showed this 1,000 times, but we get this question every stream. Y'all have seen me answer it. When you're on the site, go to the left-hand side, hit draft guides, and then it's going to be the 2025 flock draft sheets. Click that. You should be good to go. Again, I'm going to update them, and that update will be sent out tomorrow morning. But this is where you can find like the 50 draft sheets for all your platforms, for all your league settings. That way you can actually print it out or just use it on your computer, whatever you're wanting for wherever your draft is. Like for my draft, obviously, if y'all saw the Flock League video, I had them there. I just cross them off whenever my players went off. And I absolutely love my team from these sheets. If y'all wanted to get them, it's not too late, obviously. I mean, here, I would say by far and away the best deal we've ever done on the site, it's not even really close, is the 2025 season pass. I'm sure you've heard me say it 1,000 times. But with this, you can get access to a bunch of different things, including the trade calculator, the My Teams page, the rankings on the site that are going to be updated every single week until until really January 1st, which is how long you'll have access to the site with. Plus, you'll get all those draft sheets, which are going to be updated every single Friday until the season starts. And if you use promo code FLOCK, you'll get a free trade question and a free start set question for me to answer as well, which highly recommend taking advantage. But we got Sal coming through with a massive dono. Appreciate you, my friend. And this is Sal, not Sal. Hooking up a bunch of people with YouTube memberships. Appreciate you, my friend. But let's move this over to Brazy says, now in charge of an 8-team PPR league, is it too much to do 3 flex instead of 2? Which draft sheets would you recommend to go with for 2, or if I go with 3 flexes? So if you're in an 8-team league, to just do the simple math on this, I would say let's say the standard fantasy football league is a 12-team league where you start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So that means you start 5 offensive skill position players between running backs and wide receivers weekly. So that means across the average fantasy league, there should be about 60 running backs and wide receivers getting started weekly. However, if you're in an 8-team league and you do a double flex format, that means you're going to be starting a combination of 6 running backs and wide receivers, and you're still only at 48. So if you wanted to get closer to the standard fantasy football league, I would say for sure that you're going to want to make it a triple flex, where if it's a triple flex, you're going to be starting a combination of 7 running backs and wide receivers weekly, which is going to be a total of 56 offensive players. So for me, I would say triple flex is the way to go if you're in an 8-team format. I may go as crazy as saying you should make it a mandatory 3 wide receiver and a triple flex league. But I mean, that would balance out a lot of things here. And in terms of what sheets you should be using, because we don't have 8-team league sheets, but we do have the adjustments here on the side that kind of explain what you want to be doing if you play in a slightly different league format. I would say if you're in an 8-team double flex league, you want to be using the 10-team PPR start 7, assuming it's PPR. However, if it's going to be a triple flex league, I would probably still suggest using the 10-team PPR start 8, if that makes sense. Okay. Now, I hope that was able to help you, my guy, and I really do appreciate you, and definitely wishing the best of luck. But again, 8-team league, you want as many starting lineup spots as possible. Now, Cosby coming through with the super message. This is a sleeper / pick at 3. I uploaded my league and pick at the number 3 spot. My first pick should be what? Sleeper, and we pick at 3. So let me look at this. I can only see your league if you send in like an actual like roster review. But if we're in a sleeper league, we're picking at 3. Let's say it's a 12-team format, right? So let's go hypothetically, we're using a sleeper 12-team PPR start 7. This is going to be sheet 19. So let's move over to sheet 19. And I will say with this as well, we are obviously going to be updating these sheets relatively soon. So the first 3 options I'd be looking at will be Chase, Bijan, Barkley. Now I understand a lot of people are pushing Gibbs ahead of Barkley, but on Sleeper, you should be able to find some wide receiver values late. So I would probably opt to go with one of the running backs over Jefferson or Lamb, unless you're playing in a start 8 format, like you have to start 3 wide receivers or you have multiple flex spots. Then you'll be a little more inclined if you wanted to instead go ahead and pull the trigger on like a CeeDee Lamb there. Like in the flock league, I probably would have taken CeeDee Lamb where Danny did as well, because it's a 12-team double flex full PPR format. Now moving over to what we have in the second round. So second round, you're going to be in this range where I think if you can get another running back where you can just hammer elite running backs after each other, and you get Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, 100% I'm about that. So if you could start like Saquon Barkley and Bucky Irving, especially if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex like the sheet indicates, let's go ahead and let's make that move. And in the early third, this is where things get very different based on the league settings that you're playing in. If you are playing in a league where you need to start 2 flexes, in the early third, if you went running back out the gate, you would need to be taking a wide receiver or a running back. You can take Kyron if you want. If Kyron makes it there, but he won't. However, if you're playing in a league where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, even if you start running back, you could afford to go ahead and you could afford to take the elite quarterback with either Allen, Lamar, or the elite tight end with Trey McBride. That again, it's really dependent on your league format. That's why we have all the draft sheets. I know that, I mean, if you're sending in a question on the site, I'm almost certain that you got the season pass, so you should have the draft sheets available to you. And again, especially if you're drafting this weekend, you should have the most updated version of those sheets, which definitely use those for the early rounds. I would say in general, if you're in a double flex league though, you need at least 1 wide receiver through the first 3 rounds. Jack says, you're going to hop in a Mastiff tonight. $1,000 draft. Did Underdog drop the Mastiff tournaments? If so, you can find your boy in there. I'll be in there. Let's see. The Mastiff's out. I'll be in there. I will be in the Mastiff tonight. Don't y'all worry. $1,000 Underdog draft later tonight. D Wheels coming through. Says, the 2-3 turn single flex, would you take a quarterback and tight end or just one? Single flex format, if you only start 2 wide receivers. Hell, I don't care if you take a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds. So if you wanted to go like running back, quarterback, tight end, 100%, let's do it. Again, I know we've said that a couple times though, but I think it really does matter again, those league settings. And yeah, I did notice that Danny, I don't want to show his team because it will give away some of the trades that have been made. There's about to be a trade video that drops on the Flock League YouTube channel. But Danny literally went to the site and he raised the players in his rankings for the purpose of his team on the My Teams page to go higher. Danny, I saw what happened. I have been tracking these rankings. I saw what you did. I'm expecting at this point you're going to have CeeDee Lamb ahead of Jamar Chase just for the value bump on the My Teams page. So now our next question coming out from Jerry says, would you do this to try to win this year? So this is a Dynasty Superflex deal that 100% I would do. I'd way rather have Bucky Irving over Jackson Dart, and Brian Robinson at this point is almost a 0. So take this deal and run. Only way I wouldn't do it if I was a rebuilding team, but even if I was a rebuilding team, you could probably flip them for more. But dear God, Arv coming out with just a massive dono. I need to hook you up with a bunch of free questions, my guy. So you should have a couple of free trade questions and a couple of free start set questions in your account. So after you draft your team, I'd be super happy to just help you out with anything you want this year. Saying, I have a 12-team PPR draft. I'm pick 4, start 8, 3 wide receivers. Word will be that CeeDee Lamb is gone. Should we go with Jefferson or Bijan Gibbs? My next pick will be pick 21. So I 100% love the mindset of start 8, 12-team, full PPR format. You want to be pushing wide receivers up the board. So again, I said this earlier in the stream, but 100% I would be going with the same direction that Danny did in the Flock League. I would have taken CeeDee Lamb at the 102 as well in this format. Now, with that being said, I'm not pushing Jefferson ahead of Bijan Gibbs Barkley. The reason being is you should be able to find wide receiver values in the middle rounds, unless you are drafting in like a super, super sharp league where everybody just knows exactly what to do. So I would be completely fine going with the elite running back at pick 4. The rule that I would have, if it's going to be a start 8 league, if you go with the elite running back, you at least have to take one wide receiver in the next 2 rounds. If AJ Brown, Drake London make it to you, you got to take one of them. Or if in round 3, say like round 2, you decide to go with Bucky Irving instead. You start your draft off with Gibbs, Bucky. In round 3, you can't go with Trey McBride. You have to go T. Higgins instead in this format. If it was a single flex league, I'd say otherwise. But I hope that was able to help you out. And also, like I said, you have a bunch of free questions in your account, so I'd be super happy to take a look at any of that for you. But Parlay DJ, always happy to see us, says, 12-team PPR double flex, 1 super flex at the 105. How important is it to get a premium quarterback in round 1? And can I build off a premium wide receiver running back or wait until the 3rd with a QB? So if this is going to be a super flex league where you have the 105, the difficult question, I know I've said this before, but with answering redraft super flex questions will be, I don't know how your league mates are going to value the quarterback position exactly. In a dynasty league, there's a pretty consistent consensus across all leagues where we have a good idea of what the super flex quarterback values are. In redraft leagues, I see some people post a board where Joe Burrow's the 5th overall player off the board, and I see other people send me boards that Joe Burrow goes at the 2-3 turn. So there is such a wide range of outcomes. My general rule of thumb is at the 105. If you have access to Allen, Lamar, Daniels, or Jalen Hurts, I would more likely than not go ahead and take the elite quarterback. And then from there, I would be very flexible over the next few rounds. Now, with that being said, if those 4 quarterbacks are the first 4 players off the board, we take Jamar Chase. I don't want to try to map out much more than that. Just simply being, I don't know how your league mates are going to value these QBs. It varies so much. And if I were to give advice to you that in a league where your league mates may not value him that much in a super flex spot, maybe you end up drafting 3 quarterbacks way too high. And vice versa. Maybe if I tell you like, oh, okay, well, you're good to just kind of wait here, maybe you get boxed out. I would say, make sure you watch what your league mates are doing. If you get access to one of the big 4 quarterbacks, you take them at the 105. If not, you take Jamar Chase and then reevaluate when you're in rounds 2 and 3. But let me hook you up with a couple free start set question vouchers, my friend. I know you've sent in a bunch of questions, and I want to make sure that I can get you set up for the season. But Dylan, can you get rid of that NFL streaming person? Can you hide them from the channel forever? And another thing that I needed to say was, so we are doing a giveaway. Every 100 likes we hit on a Q&A live stream this year, I'm going to be giving away a start sit question and a trade question to somebody in the chat. So I believe we've hit 100 likes. So if you're in the chat and you have an account on flockfantasy.com, it doesn't need to be a paid account. It can be a free account. It actually, for me to search you, you actually have had to sign up with code FLOCK. But if you have an account on flockfantasy.com with code FLOCK, leave your username in the chats, and I'd be super happy to hook you up with those free questions. We're going to do that for every 100 likes that we hit. Maybe if we've hit 200, we'll pick 2 winners. But yeah, I need to hook up Parlay DJ, like I said, with a couple free start set questions. Hopefully I was able to help him out with what he wanted. Okay. And let's move over to this next one. And let me see in the chat real quick if we've hit 100 or 200. Do I need to pick one person now and another person later? Or do we pick 2 people now? So we've hit 100. So we're going to pick one person. Okay. We are going to, the first person that I saw when I looked up, we're going to find a way to do this officially where like I can have a little randomizer pick. But for the first few streams, before I can set that up, I'm having to work on the draft sheets right now. I'm just going to click randomly. It's going to be Cooper Mar 10. So if you have an account on the site with code FLOCK, let me look you up real quick and give you that free voucher, my friend. Let's go Cooper Mar 10. I found you. I believe this is a free account. And we can hook you up with a couple vouchers, my friend. Let's give you a start set question and a trade question. And then let's move this back to the other questions we gotta get to. But Zanny says, 10T PPR start to double flex. Tips on the 4 spot. Any significant changes to the sheet? Draft is before the update. So the big changes that we are going to have to the sheets that drop tomorrow is 1, the changes with the ADPs, and 2, the changes with the video that was put out today, where Brian Robinson obviously is significantly lower now than where he was previously ranked. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt needs to slide up and 100% be on your radar. Egbuka moves up dramatically. And then Braylon Allen moves up. Breece Hall moves down. Trevion Henderson moves up. So essentially, if you watch the video today and you watch the video, everything has changed. Those are going to be adjustments plus minor rankings adjustments. And then ADP is almost completely different than it was a week ago. So I think that's everything. But, and then I'm sorry. It's just, I wish I could go ahead and update them like every day, but it takes me 8 hours to update them. And I do the live streams and I do the videos and stuff. So it's like I just need a 1 day commitment, and we're doing like Thursday and Friday. But we got Cinto coming through with a massive, massive dono. Let me hook you up with a bunch of free stuff, my guy, just to make sure that you're in a good spot this year. We got you a couple free start set questions and a couple trade questions. It says, hey Mason, would you keep Bowers in the 7th or Bucky in the 11th? Full PPR, league is heavy with bonuses after 100, 200, 300 total yards. So first thing that we need to address is the relative gap that you have between a 7th or an 11th round pick. So to do this, let me honestly just pull up my own draft board in the Flock League, because I think that should be just a general good board to look at, right? So what was a player that went in the middle of the 7th versus a player that went in the middle of the 11th in our league? And I know it's going to be a little bit different in your own. So in our league, let's see. A player that goes in the middle of the 11th, I took Braylon Allen. Player that goes in the 7th, I took Jerry Jeudy. So the difference is Jeudy versus Allen. Now, in terms of the big play bonus, the big game bonuses, that's not really going to factor in too much here. But let's just use that. So let's go. Would we rather have Bowers and Braylon Allen? And I know these aren't going to be the exact players we're drafting. I'm just getting a sense of the general player range. Or would we rather have Bucky Irving and Jerry Jeudy? If you look at the expert average rankings on the site, they actually have the Brock Bowers side winning dramatically. The Bucky Irving side winning dramatically because they have Bowers ranked lower than Bucky. However, if you use my rankings specifically, I have them even because I rank Bowers over Bucky myself. So what I would say is if it's a single flex format, I really like the idea of getting the elite level tight ends. A double flex format, you probably want to go with Bucky Irving. But if I think it's fair and it looks like everybody else on the site would clearly rather have the Bucky side, you probably go with the Bucky side, to be honest. Nerd Space Games in the chat says he would take Bucky. Can everybody spam the chat? Would you rather have Bucky Irving in the 11th or Brock Bowers in the 7th? And then also, Marker Word, would you mind hiding the NFL game streaming in the chat? But see what people are saying. Okay, literally everybody in the chat is agreeing with the trade calculator on the site with Bucky. I mean, you got one or two Bowers mixed in, but it's almost everybody on the Bucky side here. So Free Garrett Wilson coming through says, what are the best stacks? I love Purdy, Pearsall, and Bo Nix, Evan Ingram. A stack that I really like, especially if we're going back and looking at the Flock League draft board, is like Trey McBride in the 3rd. And then where did Kyler go? Kyler went in the 9th. If you could go like McBride in the 3rd, Kyler in the 9th, I would really like that. Okay. Now, 21B Huntoon says Kyler, Achane, Genty, Adams, Marv, Warren, Trav. At the bench, we have Waddle and Godwin. Does this upgrade help? 100%. Is this team linked? No. So if you have Waddle and Godwin on the bench, 100% you just go and get Jack. I mean, you go get Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think you're like offloading any of the risk with this. Just because the projection with St. Brown is going to be so much safer than what you have with the projection of Amon-Ra. So we'll do the same thing. Let me put this in the trade calculator and make sure I'm not losing my mind here. I think most trade calculators would actually say that the Marv side wins because they don't accurately account for the elite players. If you use my rankings here, Amon-Ra St. Brown wins just like I thought. If you use the expert average, which does have Harrison and Adams a little higher and Amon-Ra St. Brown a little lower in the rankings, it says a fair deal there. But for me, if you're telling me that Waddle's on your bench, it's a shallow enough format where give me the best player. Give me Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, True Penguin coming out with a question. Says 14-team league, 1 quarterback, 3 wide receiver, 1 running back, 1 tight end, 1 flex. What's the draft strategy? We slam wide receivers. Punt tight end completely. 14-team league. Skill position's going to be a little more scarce. It's going to be a little bit harder to come by. If you wanted to draft 1 anchor RB and then not worry about it, you could do that. But the main thing that I see here is we need to just make sure that we are starting 4 wide receivers weekly. So I would be going wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. And then obviously if you could start with like Barkley, like my team in the Flock League honestly would be like a really strong, like my draft there would be a really strong draft there. Dear God, we have so many team reviews that we're going to have to get back to the team reviews, to be honest. W Deck says, Mason, got Terry on my team and just wanted to know if I should be trading him because the team issues. So it just depends on the cost, right? Because you go back and you look at where Terry McLaurin was getting drafted early in the offseason in best ball drafts. He was going at the beginning to the middle of the 3rd round. Whereas now, you're looking at him like in the Flock League, he went at pick 48. If you got him at the very end of the 4th, the very beginning of the 5th, and that's how your league mates value him, I wouldn't sell him. Just like we said with James Cook, I've been saying with Terry McLaurin, I think the most likely outcome is he just gets paid and he's just with the team. If I was Terry McLaurin, I'd be doing everything that I could to get paid. And if I was the team, I mean, I'd be doing everything that I could to get him on the field, because what's the alternative? What else are you putting at receiver? Are you going to trade for Adam Thielen? So I would highly, highly recommend just buying the dip on Terry. Obviously, if you took him in the 3rd, yes, I think you should be concerned. But where you probably took him, you're probably fine. Now, Big B says 7 starter PPR, draft an elite quarterback tight end in rounds 2 and 3. Yes. If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, and you're picking at the beginning of round 1, and you can start off with like Bijan, Josh Allen, Trey McBride, chef's kiss. Now, of course, if you're at the back half of round one, there it's going to be a lot tougher. Because if you're at the back half of round one, I'm not wanting you to draft Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson over Bucky Irving. Like I would say at that point, you're probably better off just going ahead and waiting on quarterback, maybe get Jaden Daniels at the 3-4 turn. Because we're not wanting to push up Josh Allen or Lamar into that like Chase Brown, Bucky Irving range. But if you're looking at the opportunity cost of them being like the guys that went at the beginning of the third in the flock, like if it's like at running back James Cook or Josh Allen, 100% can be Josh Allen. Especially if it's a single flex format, just because they're going to make up such a high percentage of your starting lineup out. But one thing that you could do as well is if you're in like the middle of round three, the middle of the board is you could go like Bowers in round two, and then hope one of the elite quarterbacks makes it to you in the third with either Allen or Lamar. If they don't, you could pivot to Daniels, or you could try to get Jalen Hurts in the fourth. But JB says this is an 8-team quarter, 1 QB, 1 super flex, 2 wide receiver double flex, 6 point per passing touchdown. After I get quarterback, should I focus on running back, wide receiver, and wait on tight end, or get an elite tight end? Thanks, my guy. So in general, this is a shallow format. Like, again, we did the math earlier, but this is going to be a league in which you're starting a total of 6 wide receivers and running backs. 8-team league, that's 48 total starters. If we compare this to a 12-team league where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, there you have 60 total players being started across running back and receiver. So there's actually a couple different adjustments that we need to be making here. One, I like getting an elite tight end. Don't get me wrong. I think wide receiver is going to be so easy to come by with this league. Like, it's not even funny how easy wide receiver is going to be to get. Now, if we're looking at quarterback in your 8-team league, the Superflex element of it does not do much when it comes to the quarterbacks that are QB3s. So like in a 12-team Dynasty Superflex league, guys like Bryce Young have a lot of value, right? Because there's always the supply and demand of the position. Everybody's always in a Superflex league trying to get 3 starters. That way, in case there's an injury or during the bye weeks, they still can start 2 quarterbacks at all times. And in a 12-team league, it's impossible for everybody to get enough. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what? There are 32 starting quarterbacks, 12-team league, multiplied by 3, that's 36. There are 4 guys left over. 8-team league, everybody can have 4 starting quarterbacks on their team. So you could always find like Daniel Jones for free, Aaron Rodgers for literally free. Now, do we want to start those guys? No. So what I would do with quarterback value in this league, it's going to make up a ridiculously high percentage of your starting lineup output. 1, because it's 6 points per passing touchdown. And 2, because you're only starting a combined 6 running backs and wide receivers. Like, quarterback's going to dominate here. I would push up the elite quarterbacks dramatically in the rankings. However, those mid-tier quarterbacks, the guys like Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud, Michael Penix, do not reach on those players in the mid rounds. They're going to be relatively cheap. So stay flexible with this as well, because again, every redraft Superflex league mates value the quarterback position a little bit differently. So it is going to come down to what you got. Bob says, I have my draft today, but the draft sheets aren't updated. What should I do? Like I said, the draft sheets are going to be updated tomorrow. If you got the season pass and that's how you got the draft sheets, then you can always just go access the site and sort by my rankings here if you wanted to reference the guys that have been big time risers. Like an example of a player that's been a big time riser maybe is Igbuka, right? Where now I have Igbuka going at like the beginning of the 6th round, where he's probably much, much later in your sheets. Given the injuries that we have with Jalen McMillan and the injury update that we have with Godwin, we just put out that video today. So if you're like, hey, I got to do my draft right now, I need to figure out how to rank these players right now, I always keep these rankings on the site up to date, like literally every single day. The thing that I have to do once a week with is those draft sheets, just because those take so much longer. Just says, how do you get the draft sheets if you use the code for Underdog? Those draft sheets are going to get emailed to you every Friday with the most updated version. So you should get that email to the email address you signed up to Underdog Fantasy with tomorrow. Okay. Now let's move this over to Chase's question. Says, What do you value more, the elite tight end or the elite quarterback? Also, thoughts on Drake Maye as a quarterback? Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, my friend. I think Drake Maye can be a very good real-life quarterback. The schedule's great, and at the same time, obviously he showed a lot of promise last year with an absolute garbage situation. But to be honest with you, I thought that it was a little disappointing for how the situation changed this offseason. I was hoping that we were going to have the New England Patriots go out there and get somebody like T. Higgins. I was hoping that they were going to be able to bring in some serious weapons for May. For them to get like Stephon Diggs coming off a torn ACL, like pushing age 32. For them to draft Kyle Williams in round 3 of the NFL draft, it was honestly kind of disappointing. I think they made great moves from a real life perspective, but I don't expect this to be a super high volume passing team. I would expect that Drake Maye this year from a fantasy perspective is relevant in best ball, and he's kind of like a high upside weekly streamer. Like if Drake Maye was my only quarterback, I'd be a little bit worried. And then with that as well, in terms of the elite tight end or the elite quarterback, frankly, I don't know. It's just going to depend on the value over replacement of what your league mates are doing. If your league is the kind of league where everybody rosters 2 starting quarterbacks, then there I probably would rather have the elite QB over the elite tight end. So let's move this over and let's refresh this, and we may have to start looking at some of these teams. Okay, so we still have a few of these super messages to get through before we go back and look at some teams. But yeah, this is going to be a long live stream. Let me see. Have we hit 200 likes? Is it time for us to start giving out some more free trade questions and start set questions? And if so, make sure you're dropping your username that's on the site in the chat right now for me. Okay, so never mind. We are 10 likes away, so we'll check back in after we answer these. But let's move this over. Mando says, how do I use the draft sheet? Should I pick a player ranked lower on Sleeper app than the CS? So if you're using the draft sheets, you're saying that you're drafting on Sleeper here. Let me pull up a Sleeper draft sheet as an example. Again, the updated sheets will be sent out tomorrow. So what we do is, and this is why it takes so damn long, is we go ahead and for every sheet, we'll get the platform ADP that you're drafting on. Then we make our own rankings adjustments based off your exact league settings. So this is a 10-team PPR start 7. So here we're pushing up the elite quarterbacks, the elite tight end, the running backs, and pushing down wide receivers. So we have our rankings of the player, and then we have the ADP on the platform. We average that out, and then we have the power ranking off of that. So you'll see with these league settings, I want you to be abusing them, and I want you to actually take Brock Bowers ahead of like London and AJ Brown. Whereas if you were playing in a league where you have to, maybe there's a 12-team format, you have double flex spots, no way in hell you take Bowers ahead of the receivers. So I would suggest, obviously, making your own decision on every pick. But what I referenced in the video that we put out yesterday of how I did my draft is I was using the power ranking. I used the other sheets because we were drafting in person. So I wanted the average master ADP to be the anchor rather than the specific platform ADP. But hopefully that was able to help you, my friend. And I think you sent in another one, or you just sent in no, this is a different question. It says, how do I draft? When do I take a tight end in a 10-team 1.5 tight end premium league? It's a league where we can start up to 5 wide receivers. So I would definitely move up the tight ends a bit, but I'm not going to be moving like George Kittle to be a pick at the end of the first round. Like in general, a 1.5 point per reception for the tight end league, it makes tight ends viable options in the flex spot, but not great options. Like if it was a double PPR for the tight end position, it's like, oh, okay, I want tight ends in the flex. Here it just makes it where you can consider them. But it looks like we hit 200 likes on the stream. So everybody, please, if you have an account on the site and you use code FLOCK with it, I can search you on my users and I will hook you up with a free trade question, start set question. Drop your username in the chat right now. And then we'll just randomly pick someone. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pull this over. I'm going to look like this. Ooh, that's cool how that y'all's names are on there. How the hell do I just make it like that all the time? Okay, I'm going to look away, scroll up and down, and randomly click one. Now, I will say that we're going to have a better way to do this in the future. But for now, it's what we got to do while I got to work on the sheets. I don't have the time. Now, Big Los is the person who won. So let me swing this around, search for Big Los, see if he's here on our user page. And if so, yes. And Big Los also has a 2025 season pass. So you should already have a bunch of free vouchers in your account, but let me hook you up with some more, my friend. So you should be good for almost the entire year, pretty much. So you have a couple additional free start set questions and trade questions in your account. But let's move this over to Mando. Says, how do I draft 10 team? I think we already answered that, right? Yeah. So Killer Q coming through says 10 team PPR, 5th pick in a snake draft. What's the strategy? 5th pick, I would say if it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, I'd really like a running back. If Barkley, Bijan, Gibbs, any of them fall to you, let's 100% run it. And then they're in the 3rd at the 305. Since it's a 10 team league, that's like pick 25. So I would really like to get Lamar, Josh Allen, Trey McBride. I would like an elite onesie and a 10 team league. If it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, even if it's a double flex format, I'd strongly consider it. But I don't think I have anything else other than that. Other than, obviously, I'm assuming that you have access to the draft sheets on the site. Now, Gibbs O'Mai coming through with a trade. Here, this is Henderson and Amon-Ra versus Sutton and Neighbors. I would rather have Amon-Ra over Malik Neighbors personally. But let me go ahead and pull this up real quick on the site, because honestly, just because I would rather have him doesn't mean that everybody agrees with that. Maybe it doesn't mean that that's exactly how you should go about it. So let's say they receive Henderson and they receive Amon-Ra St. Brown. I receive Neighbors and Sutton. So you'll see that the expert average ranks on the site, actually, they do have Neighbors over Amon-Ra, but they still have Trevion Henderson quite ahead of Cortland Sutton. So the expert average ranks on the site say that this is a fair deal. If you use my rankings where I have Amon-Ra St. Brown ahead of Malik Neighbors, it will say that you slightly lose. So I do think it's kind of personal preference, but for me, I would rather have Trevion Henderson. Henderson's just absolutely skyrocketing right now. And I don't think you should look to sell. Okay. Now, Miguel coming through with our next trade. This is going to be a dynasty trade where we're sending Rome for a 1st, 2nd, Kamara for Tracy and Cheat. I think you're losing. If you're selling Rome here, I think I want a little more value, to be honest with you. I think you can get more value, especially because, I mean, if you're looking to offload some of these contending pieces right now in August, this is redraft season. So, I mean, there are people trying to contend that will just go right for it. Now, MD coming through. This is also a Dynasty Superflex deal where we're selling Joe Burrow for essentially Kyler in a 1st. I would rather have Burrow. Like, I think Burrow outscores Kyler this year, and I think 12 months from now, Burrow's still worth more than Kyler in the 1st, and take Bigsby's not enough to move the needle for me. So give me Joe Burrow. Now, Miz says, what do you think? JD throws me off, but JC is tempting. So I'm assuming this is a 1 quarterback league. Would I rather have Gibbs and Brian Thomas or Jamar Chase and Chase Brown? It's close. Probably Jamar Chase and Chase Brown, but it's not that far off. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to definitely take Jaden Daniels over Patrick Mahomes by a country mile. So I'm going to go with the Brian Thomas, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jaden Daniels side of this. I think you would honestly be losing this deal. Now, Ty Chicks got Diggs. If y'all don't know him, he is always a top supporter. He definitely was last year. So we are going to answer this team review, and then we'll get back to more of those super messages and those trade messages. My guy, you know I appreciate you. Happy to see that you're back with us again this year, and happy to see it looks like we're starting off pretty high with the league analyzer right now. Now you're saying, hope you're doing well, Mason. I just finished my draft and I ended up taking a bunch of rookies. Well, how do you think my team's looking? Tried waiting for Kyler, but the guy with 4 quarterbacks ended up auto-drafting all his QBs and won't trade unless he gets a startable asset. Should I just stack CD and Dak for now? Dak's going to be just fine. So the thing is, that team that auto-drafted 4 quarterbacks, they need to be living in reality. They need to realize, hey, this is a 10-team league. Everybody can just go and pick up a starting quarterback, and they're not that hard to come by. So, like, realistically, if we go ahead and look at what's sitting out there on the waiver wire, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Michael Penix, with like Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, you could probably stream matchups and score more points than whatever Kyler would. So overall, do not stress at quarterback. Now, don't get me wrong. Your league format is one which I would love an elite QB if we could get it. But I'm assuming this is the team that... No, that's not the team that autoed. Who's the team that autoed all the quarterbacks? This team has Mahomes, Purdy, McCarthy. This team has Hurts, Kyler, Caleb, and Justin Herbert. So this team's absolute garbage. This team has like DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren, Aaron Jones as their running backs in a 10-team league. This team's also rostering 3 tight ends. So if we're looking at the setup for this spot right now, like they are going to have to make waiver wire cuts. Like they're going to have to go through and cut Ferguson, cut Dallas Goedert, and try to go find some of these running backs, receivers off the waiver wire. I mean, the best running backs on the waiver wire in your league are like Ray Davis, Dylan Sampson, Miles Sanders. The best receivers are like Bateman, Luther Bird, and Cedric Tillman. So this team is certifiably screwed. You can dominate if you just sit back and do nothing. Again, I think you are going to need to be playing the matchups with the quarterbacks here. So one thing that I wouldn't mind you doing at all is if you wanted, and honestly, F it, I'm going to move Najee Harris below Jerome Ford in our rankings. Like if I was telling you somebody to cut here, Jerome Ford's potentially a starting running back week 1. Najee Harris is still blind. So, like, yeah, I would cut Najee before I would cut Ford. So, if you wanted to cut Najee Harris and go ahead and pick up Jared Goff and then play the matchups between Dak Prescott and Jared Goff through the season, I think that'd be very intriguing. Like, the first thing is that when we're looking at, say, like week 1, I don't exactly know off the top of my head who the Lions are playing, but I know I don't want to be starting Dak against the Eagles. So, would be preferred for me if, I don't know, you could go ahead and just pick up that second quarterback. Don't panic trade. That other team's screwed. You're not screwed. You are completely fine. Going over to running back, we have the 4th best RB room in this league, according to the league analyzer. We have Derrick Henry, Amari Hampton, RJ Harvey, Trevion Henderson, Zach Charbonnet, Najee Harris, Jerome Ford. So I know we have a lot of rookies here, but the rookies that we have are startable week 1. Like Amari Hampton is in your lineup week 1, and you're excited about it. Amari Hampton will be a top 20 running back in my rankings week 1. Trevion Henderson, it's not going to take him too long to turn into a starting running back. We can almost say the same thing about RJ Harvey. We go over to wide receiver. We have Lamb, Ladd, Sutton, Rome. So if we really wanted to early in this season, we could throw a wide receiver in that flex. Tyler Warren, I absolutely love the long-term upside of. I will say that maybe I would be just a tiny bit concerned if we were having to rely on him starting week 1. Again, 9 times out of 10, I would say that when we are looking at these rookies, while we want to be rostering them, why we want to be excited about them, is their late season upside. I typically lean on the side of like, hey, we don't need to start them the exact week that they break out. We can let them break out and then we can start them the week after. So maybe the first few weeks, it's a little bit rocky with Tyler Warren, but I mean, he's playing every single snap in the preseason. It's not like you're screwed. So here's what you do. You tell this team over here, hey, you're screwed. I'll give you the combination of RJ Harvey and Dak Prescott for Jalen Hurts. If not, kick the curb. Like, what are they going to say to that? Tell them, I'll give you the combination of Chris Olave and Tyler Warren for Sam Laporta. They say no. Tell them to kick the curb. And then going over and looking at other trades that we can make with other people that didn't just auto draft their team. I think a potential trade that could be interesting when we are this loaded at running back, we have this many starters and it's a super shallow format, is going ahead and looking to see if we can upgrade tight end. This team has Brock Bowers, right? So if there's a world in which we can send Trevion Henderson and Tyler Warren to get to Brock Bowers in your shallower format, I'm all about it. This team has George Kittle. And also they have Caleb Johnson as an RB right now who may not be startable. If we could send them RJ Harvey and Tyler Warren to get to George Kittle in this shallower format, I'm all about it. The other moves that we want to be making, like I said, with the waiver wire, I would probably cut Najee Harris, pick up Jared Goff, assuming Ayuk's on our IR. We can just leave Ayuk there. And then I think you're good to go. But again, I would rather start Goff over Dak week 1. I definitely think you can afford to roster 2 QBs here. Let me hook you up with just a buttload of free vouchers, my guy. I want to make sure that you are set up in a good spot for this season. And I know you're going to be out in the live streams a lot, so I want to make sure that you are good to go. But I really appreciate you and hope I was able to help you out in some way there, my guy. Now let's move this over to our next question. Coming out from Cynic Dark, says keeper league can keep 3 options. Bijan in the 1st, Puka in the 6th, Neighbors in the 4th, or McBride in the 4th. If I keep Neighbors and McBride, one bumps to the 3rd. What is the best value of the 3? Puka's the best value in the 6th. I say 9 times out of 10, when we are getting keeper questions, what we are wanting to do is we are wanting to keep the best player. The opportunity cost 9 times out of 10 with the questions that I see from y'all is nothing. Like 9 times out of 10, the question I see is like, oh, Mason, should I keep Bucky Irving in the 8th or should I keep, I don't know, let's say Jahmyr Gibbs in the 6th? It's like, you know what? The difference between a 6th and an 8th round pick, it's not much. Just go ahead and keep Jahmyr Gibbs. He's the better player. Here, the opportunity cost is a lot. Like there's a big difference between a 1st round pick and a 6th round pick. Now, with that being said, it is worth noting if everybody in your league is keeping 3 players, a 1st round pick may be a little bit more like a 3rd round pick. A 6th round pick may be a little bit more like an 8th round pick. A 4th round pick may be a little bit more like a 6th round pick. So definitely that is relevant context to this. I would say that Puka Nacua, Malik Neighbors, and Bijan Robinson are all round 1 picks this season. Every single one of these guys in a regular redraft league is going to go round 1. So what I would probably do is I would keep Bijan in the 1st, Neighbors in the 4th, Puka in the 6th. I think Puka's the best value out of the 3. And then start your draft off with Bijan, Puka, and Neighbors, and then just have a 2nd and a 3rd and then a 5th round pick. You're crushing. I can guarantee you put your team in the league analyzer after your draft is done and you are the number 1 team. Guaranteed. So I think that's all I got for you. I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out with that here, my guy. But let me hook you up with a free trade question just in case there's anything else that pops up for you. So next question. We're going to refresh this, see if there's anything else. Ooh, this is interesting. We actually got a message from Yonder. Instead of submitting team screenshots, he submitted a draft strategy screenshot. I've never seen this before. This is going to be fun to look at. Okay. It says, hey, Mason, would love some help with draft strategy. Think a wide receiver / running back combo at the 1-2 turn, but then unsure what to do with the 2-3 and 3-4. If a running back I like Brown is available, do we take him? Also a fan of stud quarterback early, so want to do that in round 4, but not sure how to navigate going running back versus wide receiver in round 3 and then how to continue. So let's go ahead and let's look at what he sent. So he sent the elite wide receiver and running back combo. So he's saying that he takes an elite running back and an elite wide receiver out the gate versus this potential strategy where he goes with 2 running backs. So let's evaluate both of these and let's see where we could take this. This is a super intriguing thing. And before I move on from this, let me hook you up with a couple things just to make sure you're good to go this year. And this was exciting to look at. I think Yonder's actually been with us for a while. But anyway, so this is as if we take an elite wide receiver and an elite running back in the first 2 rounds. AKA we get, say, Malik Neighbors and Derrick Henry. Those are our first 2 round picks. Saying in rounds 3 and 4, we take Brown and a high-end QB. Are you referring to Chase Brown? Can y'all please let me know in the chat right now? He has to be referring to Chase Brown, right? There's no way A.J. Brown is going to be available into the 3rd. If Chase Brown's available in the 3rd, yes, Chase Brown will be an auto pick. However, the trend that we've seen lately is Chase Brown's not going to be available in the 3rd round to you. Again, it's very different league by league. I can't guarantee that you're not able to get him. But it looks like, yeah, most people are saying Chase Brown. But yes, if you get Chase Brown in the 3rd round, let's take it. If Chase Brown's not there, I would say your backup plan, Kyren Williams. If Kyren Williams isn't there, if you wanted to go with the running back still, your backup plan could be Amari and Hampton. If Amari and Hampton's not there, your last ditch effort at running back will be James Cook. Now, when you say an elite quarterback in round 4, this is where things are going to be interesting because, again, I would personally say that Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they're not making it to you in the 4th round. So one thing that you could potentially consider is if you wanted an elite quarterback and a running back in rounds 3 and 4 and Chase Brown wasn't there, if you wanted to go with Lamar or Allen in the 3rd and then follow that up with a running back in the 4th, you could go ahead and look to do that. Now, if you got your running back that you like in the 3rd round, in round 4 in this instance, I do like the idea of going ahead and getting yourself Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. I took Jaden Daniels in the 4th in the Flock League, thought it was a phenomenal value, but I don't know if he's going to make it to you in this one in the 4th. But yes, I agree. If you were to go with a running back and a quarterback, where we draw the line is you're not taking Burrow in the 4th round. Don't take Burrow in the 4th round just because you want a high-end QB. But if you can get one of those other quarterbacks and a running back, then in rounds 5 and 6, I want to be going with wide receivers, assuming that Alvin Kamara is not there. You list Kamara as a potential option in rounds 5 and 6. Kamara in our draft went at the end of the 3rd round. I'd be surprised if you can get Kamara that late. So if you're looking at the more likely outcome is the wide receivers that you listed. Those are the guys that are going in the 5th and 6th round. And if you started off your draft like Derrick Henry, Malik Neighbors, let's say Amari and Hampton, then Jaden Daniels, I like the idea at the 5-6 turn. Just go wide receiver. And you're saying Brown's not available in rounds 3 and 4. Do we take Tyreek if possible with the high-end quarterback? The wide receivers would be looking there would be Tyreek, Higgins, Wilson, McLaurin, Harrison. I prefer Higgins over Tyreek, but if you wanted Tyreek, you can go with it. And then I like the idea that we had with the backup running backs instead in round 3, where I know we see that at the very bottom of the screen where you're mentioning possibly Kyren, Breece Hall, Hampton, James Cook. I think your backup plan in round 3 should probably be Kyren, Hampton, Cook. And then here, if this is a double hero running back start that you're going to have, where you get a combination of McCaffrey, Henry, Achane, Genty, you're saying Hill available in rounds 3 and 4 plus an elite QB. If you are playing in a double flex format and you went running back out the gate, I would prefer you to go wide receiver over the next 2 rounds. If you're playing in a single flex format, I'm completely fine with you going ahead and you getting an elite quarterback, whether that's round 3 or 4. But again, difference between double flex and single flex. And then, yes, I think in rounds 5 and 6, you need to be slamming those wide receivers, operating under the assumption that Alvin Kamara is not there like we previously mentioned. But overall, I really like the plan. I really like the idea. I hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my guy. But yeah, thank you so much for everything. And also, I hooked you up with a couple of free vouchers as well. So if there's anything else that you want to see, I'd be happy to follow up with you. But let me refresh this. And also, I mentioned, but every 100 likes we hit on this live stream, we are giving somebody a free trade question voucher and a free start set question voucher. So please let me know when we hit 300 likes on the stream so we can make sure that we go ahead and do that giveaway. But Reindeers here is trading away Kyron Williams for Igbokwe in a Dynasty League. You can tell I have them ranked legit back-to-back. I have them at 46 and 47 in Dynasty. I think Kyron Williams is for sure going to be the better play when it comes to a contending team. But for a rebuilding team, I can guarantee you Igbokwe has more value 12 months from now. Taking a little sneak peek at your roster here. Looks like we're set up to contend. We have McCaffrey. We have Derrick Henry. I think Igbokwe has more long-term value. And it truly is going to be a toss-up. But if you wanted to win this year, Kyron Williams is going to be the guy to do it. But again, I'm very confident in saying that Igbokwe is going to have more value 12 months from now. So I'm going to mark both sides as a winner because it's truly going to be up to you. I have them ranked back-to-back in Dynasty. Okay. A Gale coming through says, Javonte and Juwan Jennings versus RJ Harvey. This is RJ Harvey, not even remotely close. Yeah, please make sure you are going with RJ Harvey. This is let me double check to make sure. Yeah, this team's linked. So we can do real quick is I can go over, and this is one thing that's so much better about what the developers have been able to build out on the site. Not only that I can answer your question and it sends you the answer through the site, so you don't even have to be in the live stream to ask questions or see your answers, but also that I can actually pull up all the information in your league and get so much additional info here. But like we're looking at the waiver wire, Braylon Allen's available. So we go back to your trade. It's not Javonte and Juwan Jennings for RJ Harvey. It's Javonte and Juwan Jennings for RJ Harvey and Braylon Allen. Because you can just pick them up off the waiver wire for free when you get that additional roster spot. So like, let me put that into the trade calculator on the site real quick for you. But dear God, I'm just so happy that we did this site. As I do this, like there were so many points when we've been working on this website over the past few years, spending so much money on it and just so much effort on it that it seemed like, what am I doing? This is way too hard and not getting nearly enough out of it. But now that there's just like so much valuable stuff that we can do on it for these streams and for the videos as well. And just for my general, like when I'm playing in the Flock League, like my own team, it definitely makes all the work worth it. Like this year is the first time I felt like that over the past like 3 years of us working on it. But anyway, we throw this into the trade calculator. It says you're robbing them. And I would 100% agree with that. Okay. But let's move this over. In coming through with a trade question. Here, this is going to be another Dynasty deal where we are trading away Igbokwe. We are getting back 2 first, Braylon Allen, Jaden Higgins. Yeah, you're robbing this guy. For sure, I'd rather have Igbokwe than 2026 or 2027 first round pick. But for you to get 2 first plus on top of it, you run with it. Okay. Kachan says 12 team, 1 quarterback, 2 wide receiver, 2 running back, single flex format. Are we going to keep Roman the 6th or Shakir in the 10th? I'd keep Roman the 6th. I don't think the opportunity cost is too far apart from a 6th round pick to a 10th round pick in a keeper league. In reality, both players are probably going to go around that range anyway, so I don't know if you're getting that much keeper value. Unless this is like a 5-player keeper league and this is like your last keeper decision. Now, OJ Got Framed says, I got the 101 in my $10,000 Yahoo buy-in league. This is the second time, or is this OJ Got Framed from yesterday? Is this the same person with the $10,000 buy-in league? Should I trade it? I've been offered picks 6, 2, and 9. What's the best pick if not playing with experts? If you're not playing with experts, you go Jamar Chase, and then at the 2-3 turn, you take a running back You either go running back, or running back, elite quarterback, or elite quarterback and elite tight end. But you go with Jamar Chase, and then over the next 3 rounds, you don't take wide receivers, then you just load up on wide receiver value later. So if it's a 12-team PPR format, I do think the 106 is very interesting. I mean, you saw that I got to, if you watch the Flock League video where we determined our draft order, I could have chose the 101, but I chose the 106. Now, one little interesting thing that I had to consider was, since we were making it the vlog, it's like, do I want to go up and make a pick once every 25 picks, or do I want to do it more often? I wanted to do it more often. I wanted to go up in that video a bunch. Obviously, you don't need to worry about that. You need to worry about just getting the best team possible. So I would for sure not trade with team number 9. Do not do that. You either go with 6, 2, or 1. I would probably pick 1 if I were you, if you're playing with people that aren't experts. Go Jamar Chase, then just double tap running back or an elite quarterback or an elite tight end there at the 2-3 turn. If you wanted to start with the running back instead of Jamar, then I would take the 2 pick. Okay, now James coming through says, rate a 10-team PPR, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, single flex. So we have Kyler, Gibbs, Henderson, Ladd, JSN, Worthy, Bowers, T-Mac on the bench. 10-team format, that's phenomenal. I mean, quarterback probably a little bit lackluster, but for you to have the elite tight end and that wide receiver, that's great. Yeah, that's really strong. Ivan coming out with a big donut for a team review. We're going to circle back to that, my friend. Michael Pass says, just got added into a 3 wide receiver, 1 flex, 2 running back, 1 tight end, 1 quarterback league. Pick 6, any advice? MFL, I think you're saying, with no kickers and defenses. So 1, appreciate you sticking with me for so damn long, my guy. I know you've been with us forever. And 2, 3 wide receivers, single flex. This is the exact league settings. Not the exact league settings, but you're going to be using the exact draft sheet that I used for the Flock League. So especially if this is MFL, I believe, use the same draft sheet that I used, and it should make the adjustments for you to push wide receivers up your board. Wide receivers are going to be more important in your league settings than a lot of others. So the draft sheet that I used was sheet number 44. Use this one. It's going to move wide receivers up since it's a full PPR format. Pick 6, you take whoever's left over. It's either going to be Jefferson or Barkley. Maybe it's CeeDee Lamb. If you get CeeDee Lamb there, I mean, you're just going to absolutely print. Okay. FF 2025 says 12-team PPR, 2 wide receivers, single flex. Yeah, Michael, I appreciate you, my guy. Take a wide receiver, running back, or a wide receiver, running back, quarterback. I want to take Chase with my first pick. Here, if you get Jamar Chase, if you have the 101, I would not take a wide receiver at the 2-3 turn. If you get Allen or Lamar, quarterback is definitely in play. If Allen and Lamar go before you in the second round, then at that point, I would not pivot to Daniels or Burrow. I think that you would be better off just going ahead and going running back. But if you could get Allen or you could get Lamar, obviously if you get Bowers will be an auto pick there. Is there anything else to say with this? And then, yeah, I would say flexible. Like, I mean, if you can get Kyron Williams, Chase Brown, then yeah, we go running back. Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, then yeah, we go running back. But if it's like, oh, I mean, do I take Amari and Hampton or Josh Allen? If it's a single flex format, I'd probably go Josh Allen. Now, let's refresh this, see if we need to answer some more questions. God, my quad's been twitching since my run. Okay, so it looks like we only have team reviews that we need to look at this point. So I'm going to make sure that we can start getting through some of these team reviews for y'all. I don't want y'all to be waiting too long on these, and I don't want to fall too far behind on them. Like I said, I'm going to start doing these live Q&As pretty much every single day on the site. But Grand Lake Rock says, I drafted 6th out of 14th in my work league with 6 points per touchdown. Thought it went all right, but I'm a little bit worried about the quarterback position. Did an earlier question. I know you said a punt tight end, but Trey fell to me in the middle of the third. Yeah, if Trey falls to you in the middle of the third of a 14-team league, you did 100% the correct thing if you took Trey. It felt like it was too good a pass. What are your thoughts? So let's go ahead and let's check this out. What draft platform is this? Do y'all mind letting me know in the chat? What board is this? This looks like, is this Fantasy Pros, I think? Yeah. Ooh, I like this little spider web that they have. That's cool. Okay. So here we are pick 6. Super interesting to see somebody sneak in Lamar Jackson at pick 5. I am sure, I mean, I don't want to say I'm sure. I don't know the guy, but if I were them, I would have been very disappointed when I saw Josh Allen be available to me in the second round, knowing that I passed on Lamb or Barkley in the first for Lamar. So I think Lamb or Barkley definitely would have been one of the correct decisions there. Let's see this. We don't know how many starting wide receivers there are. I think you're fine to go either or. I would have been a little bit worried about us getting boxed out at running back, but considering that you get Bucky Irving making it to you here in the second round, I think you did just fine by going ahead and taking CeeDee Lamb. Is this really a 14-team league? How did you cook them like this? Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This is a 14-team format. We get Bucky to pair with Lamb. Trey McBride there at the 306. Behind Terry McLaurin, James Cook. Chuba Hubbard there in the 4th. Tet in the 5th. So the Flock League was a 12-team draft, and every player that you've drafted so far went earlier in our draft than they did in the 14-teamer. Dak Prescott, ugly pick in round 6. It's a 14-team league, so I understand quarterback's going to go earlier. In my opinion, the mistake that you made, though, and this is like, maybe I need to make a video about this, is like when you take Dak Prescott here, right? This is the only gripe that I have with anything. If we were looking at which player I think you should have potentially taken at 6th-round pick going this way, I think you should have maybe taken like Rome as your 4th receiver. Getting Judy on the way back is still great, though. Don't get me wrong. But like when you take Dak, Team 1 already had their quarterback. Team 2 already had their quarterback. Team 3 and 4 did not. Team 5 had their quarterback. Team 7 had their quarterback. Team 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 all had QBs. I guess you can see that there are a couple teams in here that are taking a second, like the Mahomes team took Bo Nix, so a second quarterback by the time you're back up on the clock. So honestly, never mind, ignore me. It's not like the Dak Prescott pick's that bad. It's just kind of weird seeing these quarterback prices. And then Jerry Jeudy, I think in round 7 there, you got phenomenal value. I think Jordan Mason here, it sucks seeing Tyler Warren fall this far, and I'm sure you wanted to take Tyler Warren, but the thing is when you have McBride, you can't. This looks like a 10 or a 12-team draft, and it's a 14-teamer, like with the team you have. And then we got Lawrence as our second quarterback, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now at this point, we have Dak and Lawrence. It's okay in a 14-team league. Not great, but serviceable. We have Lamb, Tet, Judy, Darnell Mooney. So I'd like another receiver, but I mean, we're great at receiver. We have Bucky, Chuba, Jordan Mason, Zach Charbonnet, J.K. Dobbins, Bigsby. So we have a ton of these wide receivers. And then we have Trey McBride at tight end. You had a phenomenal draft. Let's see. Is there anything that we could do trade-wise at this point? I know you said you were worried about quarterback. I would not upgrade QB. I think it's going to be very difficult. For you to go through and for you to trade for an elite quarterback in a 14-team format where we drafted the elite tight ends. Maybe if like we just get a league-winning running back falling into our lap, like Kenneth Walker gets injured and Charbonnet becomes a league-winning running back, then maybe we can try to package Chuba Hubbard and Dak Prescott at that point to go get a QB upgrade. Or if we get an Aaron Jones injury, then maybe at that point we can try to package together Jordan Mason and Dak Prescott to go get a QB upgrade. But for now, I think you did a phenomenal job in this draft. Maybe trading one of the running backs like J.K. Dobbins, who's startable at the beginning of the year, to a team that's desperate for a running back to go get a wide receiver upgrade by packaging together Dobbins and Darnell Mooney. That would be on the table just because we're not going to need to start them early in the year. So effectively, they're just like a premium handcuff running back for us. But that would kind of be the only things I'm looking at with this team. But yeah, great draft. I'm super happy for you, my friend. Let me hook you up with a couple of free trade questions. I know you've been with us for a while, so hopefully this helps you out. Okay, let's move this to our next question. And here Lion says, does anyone know I can access the sheets when I buy a season pass? So if you want to access the sheets after you get a season pass, just on the website, make sure you go to the left-hand side. The left-hand side will say draft guides, or there's a section that you can click on that says draft guides. You click that, and then they're the 2025 flock draft sheets right here. And these will be updated for you tomorrow morning. Okay, let's move this over. So Relic coming through with our next team review. Says, would just like to know what you think about the team and maybe what you might have done differently. Okay, so let's check this out. First thing is, before we forget, let me hook you up with a couple of free questions, my guy. So this is a NFL fantasy team, which right now we don't have a way to link this with the site, but hopefully in the future we will for you, my friend. But let's close this window just a bit. I wish I knew how many teams were in this league for sure, because looking at this, it looks like a really shallow format. Like, how the hell do we have this running back room with Jamar Chase? Let me just double check this. Okay, so yeah. So quarterback right now, we are sitting with Joe Burrow. So with Burrow, we're chilling, right? Not going to be something that we need to address. I don't need to roster a backup quarterback. Burrow is one of these QBs that you're going to start pretty much every single week, regardless of what the matchup is. If we're going over and looking at what we have with the running backs here, we're sitting with Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor. So 2 3-down bell cows that we can really easily use as those anchors early in the year. And then down on the bench, we don't have startable names, but we have players that have a lot of upside, like Tyler Algier, Quinshon Judkins. So I would like it if they were, but yeah, we just have so many wide receivers. We got to trade a wide receiver, try to get a running back upgrade somewhere. And you don't even need to go about it that way. You can actually just try to offload a wide receiver a different way, right? Because we go over to wide receiver. We have Jamar Chase, so the best wide receiver in the league. We have Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 2. Absurd. To have Chase, Tyreek, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, it's ridiculous. We have Metcalf, wide receiver 3 or 4, because we also have Ted McMillan. Then wide receiver 5, we have Olave. Wide receiver 6, we have Ricky Pearsall. Wide receiver 7, we have Jacoby Myers. So what I think that this team should very clearly do is find a way to transition some of this wide receiver value where we have 7 startable players into value at a different position. Running back, we're chilling. I love Colson Loveland. I think that he has an insane ceiling. But at the same time, realistically, trading a wide receiver with Loveland in a 2-for-1 deal to go get an upgrade at tight end would be extremely beneficial. The reason being, you go ahead and you make that deal. You open up a roster spot and we can go pick up another running back off the waiver wire. So what I would be looking to do in this case is I'd be trying to take somebody like Chris Olave that 100% could probably impact somebody else's team. Just realistically with ours, not going to make a big difference one way or another. If we could take Olave and Loveland and go get up to, I mean, you're probably not going to be able to get to George Kittle with that. So instead, what I'd probably try to do is DK Metcalf and Loveland. Can we go get George Kittle? Ted McMillan and Loveland. Can we go get George Kittle? Tyreek Hill and Loveland. Can we go get Brock Bowers? Tyreek Hill, Loveland, Jacoby Myers. Can we go get Brock Bowers? And just offload some of this wide receiver depth to go try to get one of those elite tight ends. Hell, trade Tyreek Hill and Loveland overpay to get McBride. Because then at that point, you still have DK Metcalf in at wide receiver 2. We just slide Chris Olave into the starting lineup. No harm, no foul. And you still have an incredible amount of depth, and we could pick up another running back off waivers. So I think you have such a strong team here that really the only thing to do from this point would potentially be to go out there and overpay for an elite tight end. But I think that's all I got for you, my friend. I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And let's move this over to our next team that's coming out from Big Routes. Let me refresh this, see if we just have any more start set questions, super chats, or trades that I can answer quickly. Any of the easy questions. And yeah, we got Danny the Ladster out in the chat. Hope that you're doing well, my friend. And again, like I said, what we're going to do here is every 100 likes we hit on this stream, we are going to be giving away a free start sit question and a free trade question to somebody in the chat. So if you haven't done so already, go down there, drop a like on this stream. I think we're closing in on 300 to give away another person, couple free vouchers. And I just realized it's almost 7:30. Phil says we're at 3:03, so we can actually do this real quick. So everybody spam the chat. What is your Flock Fantasy username? If you are a member on the site and use code FLOCK, so I can search you up and I can give you a couple free what's it called? Free vouchers. Okay. And let's look away. We're not going to answer anything right now. And then we'll scroll up and down with the chat and we will pick somebody. Okay. Let's move this over. Scrolling up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay. Who do we chose? Cheese Sticks. His name's Poop Fart. I'm sorry, my friend, if that's your real name, but you're not. I'm assuming you're trolling. So we're going to do it again. That's your real name. Choose a better name. Rat Pack sounds like a real name. So we will give this one to Rat Pack. Let's go ahead, look them up on the site real quick. Boom, 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 boom. And obviously it's free to create an account on the site for these giveaways that we're going to be doing every single day until Christmas. I'll be streaming every day until Christmas. Rat Pack. All right, here you are. And Rat Pack does have a 2025 season pass as well. So let's hook them up with a couple of vouchers. So if you already got the season pass and use code FLOCK, you should already have free start set questions and trade questions for me. But now you got a couple extra ones too, my guy. So I don't know if you have your team, but whenever you do, be super happy to look at anything for you. Now let's move this over from XX Kislex. 8-team league, no third round pick. We get 2 7ths. Wide receivers get 2 additional points for 40-yard receptions. It's going to happen so rarely. I'm not adjusting rankings from that. We need to start 3 receivers in a flex. What should the draft strategy be and what sheet? So 8-team, 3 wide receiver, single flex. So this is going to be an 8-team start 8 format. So if you're in an 8-team start 8 format, I would highly recommend using a 10-team start 7 sheet. So if you are drafting on ESPN, use sheet 1. If you're drafting on Sleeper, use sheet 13. If you're drafting on Yahoo, use sheet 25. If you're drafting on a different platform or you're drafting in person where people aren't going to be on the platform, use sheet 37. But in general, with your style format, getting an elite tight end, getting an elite quarterback will be beneficial because wide receivers and running backs are going to be very easy to come by. So really, just across the board, every position in comparison to wide receiver becomes more important. So I would be more inclined to push up the elite running backs, more inclined to push up the elite quarterbacks and the elite tight ends. So Hope that was able to help you out. And again, just make sure you use the format for your platform that you're drafting on, but it's going to be a 10-team start 7. Now, Rusty Finer coming through with our next question here. This is a 16-team single flex, 3 bench, PPR 107. What is the draft strategy? Are we going to go CMC and Chase Brown? I would push up running backs. 16-team league, 3-player bench. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to ignore tight end. We're going to stream tight end. It's going to be too important for you to go and load up on the other positions, especially if you're in a spot where you know your league mates are going to be rostering 2 quarterbacks. What I would do in that case is in the middle of the second round in this 16-team format, I would strongly consider you actually going through and getting an elite quarterback there in the early second. So if you wanted to go ahead and if you wanted to get Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson at the 20, what would that be? Like the 209 in a 16-team league? Actually, it'd be even later than that. It'd be like the 210. I think we'd go for it. Now, I do like the idea of building around the elite running back because the issue is in the 16-team format, you can have massive runs at the running back position. And wide receivers just inherently deeper. Tight end, you can get options off waivers. But if everybody drafts 2 quarterbacks as well, you could be screwed at the position. So, Phil says 3-player bench is odd. No, it is, but it's a 16-team league, so I understand why they're doing it. Okay, let's move this. Chief says, finally purchased the $34 pass. I used the bank, so it was only $29. Excited. Can somebody in the chat let me know if they also were able to do this? How the hell is it only $29 for you because you used your bank? Did our devs set something up wrong? Is Stripe giving you like a rebate? Because all our payment stuff is hosted through Stripe, which is how most online websites are. Is Stripe giving like $5 back or something if you use your bank to purchase it instead of yeah. Chief says $5 discount. Vincent says, yeah, I have no clue. I paid $34. Super weird. I haven't heard that before. Thank you for letting me know. Apparently, I'm not going to say everybody can do that because Buddy says, yep. So it looks like, what the hell? Who's taking the $5? Are we taking the $5 hit or is it Stripe? Phil says there was an option with that. I found it weird, so I just went with 34. Okay, good to know. I may start saying in our little promos for it, it's only $29 if you use your bank. Yeah, RIP cheesesteaks. Cheesesteaks is absolutely in shambles right now. Okay, so here, this is a trade from B-Toe99. We already looked at their team. This is a monster deal where we are trading Lamb to get to Bijan. Lateral move. Bucky to get to Ladd. Downgrade. Tyler Warren to get to Loveland. Downgrade. Jordan Mason to get to Tyler Algier. Upgrade. I think I'd rather have the Bucky side. Let me go ahead and let me pull this up. And Sir Alexander says Stripe probably takes a hit so they don't have to pay the credit card fees. Yeah. Stripe charges us the credit card fees for sure. I guess maybe, you know what it is? I guess it's maybe if you like set up a Stripe account for the first time, they probably go like, hey, let's get this person to just connect their bank this one time. That way, every time in the future, we can avoid credit card fees and we can pay Mason's dumbass the credit card fees anyway. He won't know the difference. I'm sorry, we can charge him the credit card fees anyway. That's crazy. But let's see. So we're trading away Lamb, Bucky, Jordan Mason, Tyler Warren, Bijan, Tyler Algier, Ladd McConkey, Here's my guess. I'm going to guess that the trade calculator says this is, what do we think? Trade calculator is going to say that it's a fair deal or we slightly lose. Yeah, trade calculator says we slightly use if you use the expert rankings. If you use my rankings, it says it's a fair deal, but I think you just probably hold on to the CD Lamb side. Okay, and then let's move over to Big Routes team. This is a 10-team Superflex start 9 double keeper. I've been mock drafting for weeks, but draft day didn't go as planned. Kind of bummed to see my wide receiver and tight end rankings so low. What moves do you suggest, if any? I had a choice between Worthy or Metcalf. I thought Worthy had more upside. Thank you for all your work. It's appreciated. Really appreciate you, my friend. And I will say real quick that one, I kind of need to figure out what our team name is. And two, this is a Superflex redraft team. So right now we don't have Superflex rankings loaded into the site. We have them in our own draft sheets, but they're not on the site specifically. So with that in mind, your team may actually be much better than what the actual power ranking is. So I definitely think that, like, obviously the My Teams page is still going to be pretty damn accurate and pretty damn valuable when it comes to what you're looking at specifically with like your wide receiver ranking, your tight end ranking, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to what you have with the overall rank, quarterback is going to be a lot more important. So our team name is Shelby, which it looks like, yeah, we're not great at QB either, at least in a 10-team league. But waiver wire options are going to be here. So this is going to be a team that we just need to go through, and we just need to churn this waiver wire. So here, quarterback, we are currently sitting with Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, Tua. So here, am I stressing that much at QB? No, I think we have like a mid QB1 for a 10-team format, high-end QB2, and a high-end QB3. So overall, I think it's a good QB room, but it's not going to save our team from being weak at other positions. Going over to running back, we have the third best running back room in this league, according to the league analyzer. I mean, we are in a pretty damn comfortable spot when we're sitting with Bijan Robinson, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Zach Charbonnet, and J.K. Dobbins. Like, we have 3 running backs that'd be very exciting starters early on, and this is going to be a league where we can start a bunch of skill position guys, right? Going over to Tyreek. Tyreek is a mid wide receiver 2 in a 10-team league. I'd say he's a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2 in a 12-teamer. Xavier Worthy, I really like as my wide receiver 2 in a 12-team format. He's whatever in a 10-teamer. Yeah, wide receivers by far and away our weakest position. And Mark Andrews, I'm fine with. The thing with Andrews is you could convince me that he's going to start off strong and be an interesting sell, just given what we have with the Isaiah Likely injury. And if we're looking at what we can do in regards of waiver wire moves, like Keon Coleman versus Cooper Kupp is just generally going to be up to you. But you also have very exciting tight ends out there on waivers, such as like Dallas Goedert. You also have Braylon Allen at running back. So I know this is boring, but I mean, the main thing that I'm going to do with a team like this is there any way that we can sell one of these running backs that may be startable early in the year, like J.K. Dobbins, for a team that really needs help at running back, but we are just fine? So, like, if we could sell J.K. Dobbins to a team that maybe has like R.J. Harvey and package him anywhere on this team for an upgrade, we would. I think my preferred upgrade would actually be at quarterback. Like, if you can go Dobbins and Purdy to get to a quarterback that's slightly higher, like go get to a quarterback like a Bo Nix or Kyler Murray. Or if you could go like Dobbins and Mark Andrews, even if this isn't until like 2 or 3 weeks into the season, and get to a tight end such as like TJ Hawkinson. Like Dobbins and Andrews to get to Hawkinson would be a no-brainer, because we can then just go to the waiver wire and we could just pick up Braylon Allen for free. So I think that's all we got. I mean, I don't think you have a bad team whatsoever. A lot of it's going to hinge on what we get with these wide receivers. Like, what does Cam Ward do for Calvin Ridley? Does the Xavier Worthy and Mahomes stack work out? And then do we get a Tyreek Hill bounce back? But in general, it's not that bad at all, my guy. Definitely not as strong as like this team at the very top that is Daniels, Goff, Penix, Barkley, McCaffrey, Brian Thomas Higgins. Like, that team's a juggernaut. But I think we're definitely in the mix. Now, I think we've been live for about an hour 45, so we're probably going to call this live stream here. Typically, during the season, what we're going to do is we're going to live stream until we answer all the questions on the site. All the questions are gone. We definitely have a few teams left over that we're going to have to get through over the next few days, but I still need to do the draft stream tonight. We're going to be drafting on Underdog, and at the same time, I need to make sure I finish all the draft sheets. I need to get a really good head start on them today. That way tomorrow I'm not just drowning. So let me end this. I'm going to work on the draft sheets for like an hour, and then I'll go ahead and fire up an Underdog draft stream. Y'all can draft with me tonight. But obviously, if y'all wanted to get access to all the tools on the site, including the trade calculator, the My Teams page, all the updated rankings throughout the entire season, all the draft sheets, it's a 2025 Flock Season Pass. One-time payment of $34. You get access to everything until January 1st. Plus, if you use code FLOCK when you sign up, you're going to be getting free start set questions and trade questions for me to answer during the live streams that we are doing every night. But I think that's all I got for y'all. I really appreciate you, and really hope I get to see you out in that Underdog draft stream later tonight.